So one of the first things I always like to mention is we talk about the store being different, right? Set up just like a grocery store and being able to, really select all of the different foods that are good for everybody. What's impactful? There's a couple of significant changes over the last year that we've made. The first is we used to be a points-based system, meaning depending on how many family members you have in your family, we would assign you a certain number of points that you could use to shop with in the store. What we were finding is that was creating extra barriers that weren't necessary, meaning, I don't know if you're like me, but when I go to the grocery store, I don't want to have to try to remember what I'm budgeting as I'm walking around the aisles, and that's exactly what our guests were having to try to figure out. And so ultimately then what was happening in the end is, God forbid they got to checkout, they were over their point threshold, and then uncomfortable conversations had to have. Neither good for the guest nor for the volunteer staff person that has to deliver that message. So what we've done is we've switched our system to a limit-based system, meaning everything in the entire store is now labeled with how much of each item a guest can take. So as an example, they can have 2 cans of the mixed vegetables, they can have 2 cans of the sauerkraut, they can have 2 cans of the corn. On and on and on throughout the entire store, everything is labeled in that way. Sometimes we do it by aisle, so we'll say you can have 6 items in this entire aisle. Sometimes in our beverage section, you can say, well, you can have 20 individual things, 1 package thing, 1 specialty item, but everything in the store is labeled that way. Kid Pantry is always the next stop.
And this is a really cool area. I mean, highlighting, because a lot of people, like you said, are bringing their kids here. It's a family, this is a family show here.
Exactly.
And it's really cool. You highlight foods that kids love, but are also good for them. They got the books here too, right?
Absolutely. So this is Kid Pantry area, and we always say just because the bigs are hungry, it doesn't mean the littles aren't either. So this is an opportunity for those kiddos to be able to come in and do their own independent shop while their guardians are starting theirs. And so what happens is we'll always have a volunteer or staff member that'll be in this area, and they will, one, not only do some educational programming with them, centered around My Plate, so that way as they're learning about My Plate in school, it correlates to here as well. And so as they're going from station to station, they're filling up their plate, but then they're also able to select the foods that are best for them as well, and the foods that they like to eat. And then they always can take a book with them on the way home, and they always have coloring sheets, crayons, all of that kind of activity stuff for them to be able to do right in this space. Obviously the summertime is much busier than during school time, but we do see quite a bit of kiddos that come through. Actually, in 2023, this area alone saw a 115% increase over last year of kid usage. So again, just another telling sign of the need that's happening out there.
How do you guys, so you've mentioned like numbers and stuff like that. You guys keep a pretty good amount of documentation and to know these numbers, and this is important to you.
It just gives us some really good barometers of what the community is feeling and really the effects that happen to us as well. And so it's a really cool thing to be able to offer that kind of statistical data. Our checkout area we really think is actually super simple. Hopefully as carts are heaping full, as folks are making their way through the store, they eventually will end up in our checkout area here. And checkout for us literally is just rolling carts up onto the scale. We can record weight by household, and then down they go off the ramp to be able to bag and box up their groceries after that.
I come back and I look at this place. Not a lot of supermarkets even are growing their own greens in the back. You guys are, and it goes right to the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fantastic program. We've got a dedicated group of volunteers that come and just work with our hydroponics system alone. Generally what will happen as all of the seedlings will start in this area over here, we'll get them started, and from there then we'll transpose into the actual hydroponic machine where you see what you've got here. Mostly lettuce, just because it's the easiest thing for us to be able to grow. But we have done some other things. We've done some basil, we've done some thyme, we've tried some other things. We've tried Snickers bars, but we haven't quite gotten the right mixture yet. So, but when we get it, we'll let you know. But really, this is a great program because we are able to harvest directly from here, bag, and put right into our produce department. And we generally can do that about every 2.5 to 3 weeks.
So being a numbers guy, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you know numbers on like how much you guys do a year, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So as it stands right now, we're doing about 300 bags a year. And so large gallon-sized bags of produce. We're doing about 300 of those a year. And for us, this program is really only half of the year because our produce is so bountiful during the summertime. We actually allow that team to actually take a little break, but then we'll fire it back up in September and we'll have it roll all the way until about May.
And I mean, what are the people, the guests who are coming in and taking, utilizing this? What are they saying when it's like, hey, we're getting fresh leafy greens from here.
That is exactly it. This is the best and freshest lettuce that you can get because literally it's going from here 50 feet that way. It's the best lettuce.
So you were talking to me earlier a little bit about all the volunteers, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into this place, and here they are back here. They're remaining busy. Like you said, it's a busy time for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is actually one of our busiest areas in the entire store. As all of those donations are coming into the pantry, they are actually landing here first. And what's happening is all of these volunteers are dedicated enough to go through and they are quality checking every single thing that comes through. So we are getting hands-on every item that comes through. We have just a belief here that if it's not good enough for our own families, it's not going out in the store. And so what will happen is folks will go through, they will quality check everything that's coming in, and then it will get organized into this kind of chaotic mess that you see. At the same time while that's happening, then we'll also have other volunteers that are stocking the store coming back to grab more supply to be able to take out the store. And we're doing that all day long.
Yeah. And if somebody's out there looking at this and they're like, well, they have enough volunteers, I'm assuming you guys could always use more.
Always could use more. It takes us anywhere from about 60 to 80 volunteers a week to be able to pull off the store. And so being able to have that dedicated crew, and believe me, we have some phenomenal volunteers and we have some dedicated volunteers that just give everything to us, and we're so grateful. Just to give you an idea of what that means, this year alone, our volunteers have registered over 23,000 hours of volunteer time here. Now, to compare that to even just last year, we only had about 17,000 hours worth of volunteer help. So when you do some math on that, because I'm a math guy, I mean, that's like $300,000 worth of part-time help that we're saving because the volunteers are dedicating their time here.
Somebody came up to us, one of the guests in the store came up to us and said, this such and such volunteer is an angel.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you hear that a lot about these volunteers.
Absolutely, I'm surrounded by angels every day. I've got all kinds of great volunteers here. Some that dedicate 40 hours a week to us, some that dedicate 1 hour a month. Does not matter to us, we treat them all the same.
So behind us we have the freezer section here, keeping everything fresh, stable, as it kind of makes its way out there, right? And it allows you guys to have things like butter, dairy, and stuff like that to provide to guests as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an incredibly important area for us. We like to consider this the pantry luxury. There are not a lot of pantries that have the size walk-in coolers and freezers that we have. And so because of that, we're able to receive a lot of great donated food in that we can keep fresh for longer for our guests. And so because of this space, it allows us truly to act with Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin as the regional distribution site for Feeding America in Winnebago County, meaning all of the county's allotment of food that's coming from Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is coming here, and then we are then helping to redistribute all of that food to the other pantries in the area.
Absolutely. And what is it, one of the important things about any meal is the protein side of it. Yeah. And I'm assuming having this really allows you to utilize and receive that protein that you might not otherwise be able to have.
Absolutely. Protein is one of the hardest things for pantries to be able to get. One, it is the most expensive item that's in the grocery store. So if we had to go buy it, it's going to be one of the most expensive things that we have to purchase. And secondly, it's tough because it has to come to us frozen. We don't deal with any fresh protein. Everything has to come to us frozen, stay frozen, and then go out to the guests frozen. But being able to have these types of refrigeration and freezers allow us to be able to keep that product as fresh as possible. I just wanted to thank you for being able to come and take a tour of the Oshkosh Area Community Pantry with us. We just appreciate all the efforts of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, and especially being able to be on News Bites this time.